Do you ever feel like your brain is constantly buzzing, as if it can't hold on to a single thought for more than a few seconds? Have you noticed that focusing on one task feels almost impossible without checking your phone or flipping to another tab? Do you wonder why your attention feels so fragmented in a world that demands more concentration than ever before? These are not random experiences. They are the natural outcome of living in the digital age, an era built on the constant stimulation of our senses and the endless pull on our attention. Focus, once considered an innate ability, has now become one of the most valuable and rare skills. The good news is that focus can be trained. You can rewire your brain for clarity and deep concentration, even in the middle of constant digital noise. But first, we need to understand the science of focus itself. Focus is not simply about willpower. It's not about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to pay attention. Focus is a neurological process, a dance of chemicals, networks, and signals in your brain. At its core, focus is powered by the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain right behind your forehead. This region is responsible for executive function, decision-making, and concentration. When you sit down to work on a task, the prefrontal cortex acts like a spotlight, shining on what matters while dimming everything else. But here's the problem. In today's digital environment, that spotlight is constantly being hijacked. Every notification, every buzzing vibration, every flashing icon competes for the spotlight of your prefrontal cortex. The brain is wired to notice novelty. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Detecting sudden changes in your environment once meant survival. But in the modern world, novelty doesn't usually mean danger. It means distraction. A new email, a trending tweet, a funny video, all these hijack your spotlight, dragging your focus away from the deep work you are trying to do. This constant redirection creates a state neuroscientists call attention residue. Each time you switch from one task to another, a residue of your attention remains stuck on the first task. Even after you return to it, your brain is still processing fragments of the distraction. Studies show it can take up to 20 minutes to fully refocus after being interrupted. Imagine the cost of that when your phone pings dozens of times a day. Your brain is never operating at full clarity. It's scattered across countless micro-interruptions. So how do we begin to rewire the brain? The answer lies in neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and reshape itself based on experience. Just as muscles grow stronger when you exercise them, neural pathways strengthen when you use them repeatedly. If you constantly practice distraction, jumping from one notification to another, you're wiring your brain for shallow attention. But if you practice deep concentration, working on one task for extended periods, you're wiring your brain for focus. The science shows that what you repeatedly do becomes your default. This is why intentional training is so important. Focus is not something you either have or don't have. It's something you cultivate. One of the most effective ways to train focus is through mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation, for example, strengthens the brain's ability to notice when attention drifts and gently bring it back. Studies using brain scans have found that people who practice mindfulness show greater activity in the prefrontal cortex and reduced activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear and stress center. This means they can sustain attention longer and are less reactive to distractions. But mindfulness is not the only tool. Another key element is environment design. Your brain is influenced heavily by the cues around you. If your phone is sitting next to you while you work, even if it's face down, studies show it still reduces focus. Why? Because a part of your mind is anticipating its potential buzz. By simply removing the phone from sight, you free up cognitive bandwidth. Similarly, minimizing open tabs, creating a clean workspace, and setting clear boundaries around notifications can drastically improve focus. There's also a biological rhythm to attention. The brain naturally works in cycles of high and low focus, known as ultradian rhythms. These cycles last about 90 minutes, after which your brain needs a short break. This is why techniques like the Pomodoro method, working for 25 to 50 minutes, then taking a short pause, are so effective. They align with your brain's natural rhythms instead of fighting against them. By respecting these cycles, you can sustain deep work without burning out. Let's not forget the role of dopamine, the neurotransmitter we mentioned earlier. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's about motivation and focus. When dopamine is released, it signals to the brain, this is important. Pay attention. But here's the catch. The digital world floods us with dopamine triggers. Social media likes, notifications, and new content constantly spike dopamine, leaving your brain overstimulated. Over time, this makes ordinary tasks like reading, writing, or studying feel boring because they don't release dopamine at the same intensity. The key to rewiring your brain is learning to reset your dopamine system. By limiting overstimulation and finding satisfaction in slower, deeper activities, you train your brain to value focus again. Practical strategies can make this shift possible. One strategy is called dopamine fasting. This doesn't mean avoiding all pleasure, but intentionally reducing high-stimulation activities like endless scrolling, binge-watching, or rapid-fire multitasking for a set period. During this time, you focus on simple, slower tasks like walking, journaling, or cooking. At first, these activities may feel dull, but as your brain recalibrates, you start to find them rewarding again. This resets your dopamine balance, making it easier to focus on meaningful work. Another powerful tool is single tasking. Multitasking feels productive, but in reality, it's just rapid task switching, which drains energy. Single tasking, on the other hand, is about fully immersing in one activity. When you cook, you only cook. When you write, you only write. By practicing single tasking, you're retraining your spotlight of attention to stay fixed instead of scattering. Over time, this builds endurance for focus. Sleep also plays a crucial role in rewiring the brain. During deep sleep, the brain clears out toxins, consolidates memories, and strengthens neural connections. But when you use screens late at night, blue light suppresses melatonin, delaying sleep and reducing quality. Poor sleep weakens the prefrontal cortex's ability to concentrate. This creates a vicious cycle. More distraction leads to less sleep, which leads to weaker focus, which leads to more distraction. A digital detox before bed, turning off screens at least an hour before sleep, can reset this cycle and restore cognitive function. Nutrition and exercise also matter. The brain consumes about 20% of the body's energy, and focus requires stable energy levels. Diets high in processed sugar cause spikes and crashes, which make concentration harder. But a diet rich in whole foods, proteins, and healthy fats provides steady fuel for attention. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, boosting oxygen and nutrients. Studies show even short bouts of physical activity can improve focus and memory. So if you feel distracted, sometimes the best fix is to move your body. Let's zoom out and consider the bigger picture. The digital age is not going away. Notifications, apps, and algorithms will only get better at stealing attention. The responsibility to protect focus falls on us. But that's not a burden, it's an opportunity. By training focus, you're developing a skill that will set you apart in a world of distraction. Employers, creators, leaders, all value the ability to do deep, uninterrupted work. More importantly, focus enhances quality of life. It lets you be present with loved ones, savor moments, and pursue meaningful goals. Think of focus like a muscle. If you've been living in distraction, your focus muscle may feel weak, but that doesn't mean it's broken. With training, it grows stronger. Each time you resist checking your phone, each time you bring your attention back to the task, you're lifting mental weights. Over weeks and months, you'll notice the difference. Tasks that once felt impossible without distraction will become easier. Silence, once uncomfortable, will become a source of peace. And perhaps the most beautiful outcome is rediscovering flow. Flow is the state where you're so immersed in an activity that time disappears. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists call it inspiration. Scientists call it optimal experience. Flow is where your skills meet just the right level of challenge, and your brain hums with focus and creativity. In a world of constant interruption, flow feels rare. But through digital detox, mindfulness, and intentional practice, flow can return. It can become a regular part of your life, fueling your work, your passions, and your joy. So the science of focus teaches us three truths. Your brain is plastic, and it can be rewired. Distraction is not inevitable. It's a habit that can be broken. And focus is not just a tool, it's a path to deeper living. By aligning with how the brain truly works, through mindfulness, environment design, biological rhythms, dopamine balance, sleep, and lifestyle, you can reclaim attention. You can rewire your mind for clarity, depth, and purpose. The digital age doesn't have to mean the death of focus. It can be the age where we become more intentional, more disciplined, and more alive. The tools are in your hands. The choice is yours. And every moment you choose focus, you're not just resisting distraction, you're building a new brain, one capable of thriving in the world as it is today. If part one showed us the science of how focus works and why it's constantly hijacked in the digital age, then part two is about the deeper layers. What this means for our daily lives, our productivity, and our sense of meaning. And more importantly, what we can do to turn the tide. Focus is not just a cognitive skill, it's the gateway to creativity, resilience, and fulfillment. Without it, life becomes fragmented, shallow, and reactive. With it, life regains depth, continuity, and intentional direction. So let's go deeper into the journey of rewiring the mind. One of the first truths to embrace is that focus is fragile. The modern environment is engineered to shatter it. Every app, every platform, every device is designed around one currency: attention. You may think you're using your phone, but most of the time, it's your phone that's using you. That's why reclaiming focus requires an intentional mindset shift. It's not about trying harder to concentrate. It's about changing the way you interact with the digital environment so that it supports, rather than sabotages, your ability to concentrate. Consider what happens in your brain when you multitask. Neurologically, multitasking doesn't exist in the way people imagine. What you're actually doing is task switching, rapidly bouncing between two or more activities. Each switch costs the brain energy and time, leaving a trail of attention residue. The more you switch, the more fragmented your mind becomes. Yet many of us live in constant switch mode, checking messages while writing emails, glancing at news updates while talking to a friend, or scrolling through feeds during work meetings. The result is a brain that never gets to dive deep. This depth is where focus thrives, and without it, we remain at the surface of everything. Rewiring focus requires rebuilding the tolerance for depth. Imagine focus as a muscle that has atrophied from disuse. Just as you wouldn't expect to lift heavy weights on your first day at the gym, you can't expect your mind to sustain hours of concentration without training. Start small. Set aside 10 to 15 minutes for a single task free of distractions. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Over time, increase the interval. These focus blocks gradually retrain the brain to tolerate depth again, extending your attention span bit by bit. But attention is not only about effort, it's also about energy. A tired, undernourished, or stressed brain cannot focus well, no matter how much willpower you muster. That's why lifestyle factors are inseparable from focus. Sleep, nutrition, and exercise are not luxuries. They are the foundations of a brain capable of clarity. High-quality sleep resets the prefrontal cortex, the region that governs concentration. A diet with stable glucose levels keeps the brain fueled steadily instead of swinging between spikes and crashes. Physical movement increases blood flow and oxygen, enhancing cognitive performance. If you want focus, you must first care for the body that houses the mind. Then comes the role of environment. The spaces we inhabit shape the way our minds operate. A cluttered desk sends signals of chaos, while a clean, organized space invites clarity. Digital environments matter just as much. A phone filled with notifications is like a room filled with alarms, impossible to ignore. By designing your environment intentionally, turning off non-essential notifications, using apps that block distractions, creating screen-free zones, you're setting the stage for focus to flourish. Think of environment as scaffolding. It doesn't build the focus for you, but it holds the structure steady while you build it yourself. Another dimension to explore is the role of boredom. In the digital age, boredom is almost extinct. The moment we feel a flicker of emptiness, we reach for our phones. But boredom is not the enemy, it is the soil of creativity. Neuroscientists call the brain state that emerges in boredom the default mode network. This network is active when the brain is at rest, wandering, making connections, and generating insights. Many breakthroughs and creative ideas arise in these moments, when showering, walking, or daydreaming. But if every spare moment is filled with scrolling, the default mode network never has room to operate. Digital detox, in this sense, is not just about cutting distractions, it's about reclaiming boredom as a vital ingredient of focus and innovation. The psychology of flow is another key element. Flow, that state of total immersion where time seems to disappear, is the pinnacle of focus. It requires three things: a clear goal, immediate feedback, and a balance between challenge and skill. Digital distractions break all three conditions. They disrupt goals, scatter feedback, and constantly shift the challenge level. Rewiring focus means creating conditions for flow again. This might look like dedicating uninterrupted time to one project, setting specific milestones, and matching tasks to your skill level, so you're neither bored nor overwhelmed. Once flow emerges, it becomes its own reward, reinforcing the habit of deep work. Let's also address the emotional side of focus. Many people struggle with distraction, not because they lack discipline, but because they're avoiding discomfort. Difficult tasks stir up self-doubt, frustration, or anxiety. It's easier to escape into the dopamine rush of notifications than to sit with those feelings. But true focus requires emotional resilience, the willingness to stay with discomfort long enough to work through it. This resilience can be trained through mindfulness, reframing failure, and practicing self-compassion. The more you normalize discomfort, the less power it has to derail your attention. Technology itself is not the enemy. How we use it determines whether it's a tool or a trap. There are ways to harness technology for focus rather than against it. Apps that block social media, timers that structure work intervals, playlists designed for concentration, all these can support focus. But the key is intentionality. Ask yourself, is this tool helping me focus, or is it feeding distraction? The difference lies in whether you control the tool or the tool controls you. The social dimension of focus is another often overlooked factor. We live in a culture that glorifies busyness and constant availability. The expectation to reply instantly, stay updated on every trend, and perform online presence adds immense pressure. Rewiring focus sometimes means pushing back against these cultural norms, saying no to constant connectivity, setting boundaries with colleagues and friends, and giving yourself permission to be offline. This isn't selfish. It's essential for preserving your attention for what truly matters. Let's not forget that focus has moral weight. What you give your attention to shapes who you become. Every click, every scroll, every hour spent online is a choice, whether conscious or unconscious. Over time, those choices build your habits, your worldview, and your identity. Distraction, then, is not just about lost productivity, it's about lost selfhood. Rewiring focus is, at its heart, about reclaiming authorship of your own life. It's about choosing deliberately what deserves your attention and, by extension, what kind of person you are becoming. The path forward can be summarized in three stages: awareness, design, and training. Awareness means noticing how your attention is currently scattered, observing the triggers, and acknowledging the costs. Design means restructuring your environment, both physical and digital, to reduce distractions and support focus. Training means consistently practicing deep work, mindfulness, and emotional resilience until focus becomes second nature. None of this happens overnight, but the brain's plasticity ensures it is always possible. Let me give you an image. Imagine your brain as a field with countless paths crisscrossing through it. Every time you check your phone compulsively, you're deepening a shallow path. Every time you sit with one task in focus, you're carving out a deeper, stronger path. Over time, the paths you walk most become highways, while the neglected ones grow over. This is neuroplasticity at work. The question is, which highways do you want to build? Distraction or focus? Shallow attention or deep presence? The rewiring process is both personal and collective. Individually, you train your own brain. Collectively, as more people reclaim focus, society shifts. Workplaces may begin valuing deep work over constant connectivity. Families may create shared rituals that prioritize presence. Communities may recognize that true connection is built not through constant updates, but through quality attention. In this way, the science of focus becomes not just a personal practice, but a cultural movement. As we move deeper into this journey, remember that focus is not about perfection. You will get distracted. You will slip back into old habits. That's okay. The point is not to eliminate distraction completely. It's to reduce it enough that it no longer rules your life. Each time you return to focus, you're strengthening the muscle. Each time you catch yourself and choose presence, you're rewiring the brain. Over time, these small choices compound into profound change. The digital age has given us incredible tools, but also incredible challenges. Attention has become the battlefield, and focus is the prize. The science is clear. Focus can be trained, rewired, and strengthened, but it requires conscious effort, intentional habits, and the courage to resist the constant pull of distraction. The reward is worth it. A focused mind is not only more productive, it is more peaceful, more creative, and more alive. And in a world that thrives on keeping you scattered, the act of reclaiming your focus may be the most radical choice you can make. Focus is more than just the ability to concentrate on a task. It is the foundation for living a purposeful and fulfilling life. In a digital age where distractions are everywhere, mastering focus has become a superpower. But the truth is, this superpower is not reserved for a lucky few. It is something you can build, nurture, and strengthen through intentional practice. In this part, we'll explore practical strategies for rewiring your mind, the psychological and emotional benefits of reclaiming your attention, and why focus is the key to achieving the life you truly want. And as we walk through this journey together, remember to subscribe to Think Fresh Daily. Give this video a like, and share it with someone who could benefit from reclaiming their focus into today's overstimulated world. The first step to building unshakable focus is recognizing how deeply distraction has become normalized. We live in a society that almost celebrates busyness and multitasking, checking emails while on a video call, texting while watching TV, jumping between projects while keeping half an eye on social media. This fractured attention is not harmless. It rewires your brain to prefer shallowness over depth. It conditions you to chase novelty rather than invest in meaningful progress. But by choosing to step off this hamster wheel, you can reclaim the ability to focus deeply, and that single decision can transform every aspect of your life. A cornerstone of rewiring the mind is deliberate practice. Focus, like a muscle, strengthens when challenged. One simple but powerful technique is to schedule deep work sessions. These are blocks of uninterrupted time where you commit to one task with absolute presence. Start small, perhaps 30 minutes without checking your phone, and gradually increase the duration. Over time, you'll notice your mental stamina improving. What once felt impossible becomes natural. These deep work sessions become the backbone of productivity and creativity, producing results that scattered multitasking never could. Alongside deliberate practice comes the art of managing energy. Focus is not just about time management, it is about energy management. A tired, overstimulated brain cannot concentrate, no matter how disciplined you are. That's why rest, sleep, and recovery are essential to sustaining focus. Think of focus as a rhythm, not a straight line. You cannot expect to be at peak concentration all day. Instead, align your most important tasks with your natural energy peaks, and allow yourself restorative breaks during dips. This balance keeps the brain sharp and avoids burnout. Another critical practice is cultivating mindfulness in daily life. Mindfulness is not only about meditation, it's about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. When you notice your attention wandering, mindfulness teaches you to gently guide it back. This skill directly rewires your brain's focus circuits. By practicing mindfulness, you develop awareness of when distraction strikes, and you gain the ability to redirect your spotlight of attention. Over time, this rewiring becomes automatic, making it easier to resist the constant pull of notifications and digital noise. Let's also talk about environment design. The brain is heavily influenced by external cues. If your phone is buzzing beside you, no amount of willpower will stop your curiosity from checking it. The solution is not to fight temptation, but to remove it. Keep your phone in another room while working. Use apps that block social media during deep work hours. Create a physical space for focus, free of clutter and distraction. By engineering your environment, you make focus the default option instead of the uphill battle. But focus isn't just about productivity, it's also about meaning. Distraction robs us not only of efficiency, but of the richness of experience. When you're constantly scrolling during meals, conversations, or walks, you're not fully living those moments. you're half present, half elsewhere. Reclaiming focus means reclaiming presence. It allows you to listen deeply to loved ones, to notice the beauty of your surroundings, to savor small joys. Focus turns ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences. It gives life its depth. Emotion plays a huge role in whether we sustain attention. Difficult tasks often trigger discomfort, frustration, boredom, or self-doubt. Our instinct is to escape these feelings through distraction. But avoiding discomfort erodes focus. The secret is learning to stay with the feeling long enough to work through it. Emotional resilience is therefore at the heart of sustained concentration. You build it by gradually exposing yourself to difficult tasks, reframing failure as learning, and practicing self-compassion. Instead of fleeing discomfort, you learn to harness it as fuel for growth. The benefits of focus extend beyond personal productivity. Focus builds confidence. When you consistently complete meaningful work, you prove to yourself that you are capable of depth, discipline, and achievement. This confidence ripples outward, influencing how you show up in relationships, careers, and personal goals. Focus also enhances creativity. By immersing in one task without interruption, you allow the brain to enter flow, a state where ideas connect effortlessly and insights emerge naturally. Flow cannot exist in constant distraction. It requires depth, and depth requires focus. Another overlooked benefit of focus is calm. Distraction keeps the brain in a state of low-grade anxiety, constantly scanning for the next hit of novelty, always anticipating the next ping. This mental restlessness leaves you drained. But when you train focus, the mind becomes calmer. You feel grounded, centered, less pulled in every direction. Focus is not just about doing more, it's about feeling at peace with what you're doing. This calm presence is one of the greatest gifts of rewiring the mind. Practical routines can anchor this transformation. Start your mornings screen-free, giving your brain a chance to wake up without overstimulation. Establish daily rituals of deep work, even if brief. Practice mindfulness in small moments when eating, walking, or breathing. Use technology intentionally, not reflexively. Create boundaries around your digital life, such as no phone zones in bedrooms or during meals. These small, consistent habits add up to profound rewiring of your focus circuits. The social aspect cannot be ignored. Surround yourself with people who respect focus. If your circle normalizes distraction, it will be harder to resist. But if your community values presence and deep work, that mindset becomes contagious. Even better, invite others to join you in digital detox challenges or focus rituals. Collective accountability strengthens individual resolve. By aligning with like-minded people, you reinforce your own commitment to focus. At the deepest level, focus is a moral choice. It's about deciding what matters most to you and directing your attention accordingly. Your attention is your life. Whatever you focus on grows, shapes your identity, and defines your future. If you allow algorithms and notifications to dictate your attention, you surrender control of your life story. But if you take back your focus, you reclaim authorship of your own narrative. That is why rewiring the mind is not just about efficiency, it is about freedom. Think of your brain as a garden. Distraction plants weeds that spread quickly, choking out meaningful growth. Focus plants seeds of clarity, creativity, and peace. Each choice you make, to scroll or to stay present, to multitask or to single task, is like watering weeds or nurturing flowers. Over time, the garden reflects your choices. If you want a mind filled with depth, resilience, and joy, you must cultivate it through the discipline of focus. As you reflect on this journey, remember that progress matters more than perfection. You will still get distracted. You will still slip into old habits. That's not failure, it's part of the process. Each time you notice distraction and return to focus, you're strengthening your brain's pathways. Each small return compounds into lasting change. With patience and persistence, you'll find yourself capable of greater focus than you ever imagined. So here's the invitation. Begin today. Choose one practice, maybe a morning without screens, maybe a daily focus session, maybe turning off unnecessary notifications. Start small, but start now. The science of focus is clear. Your brain can be rewired. And the sooner you begin, the sooner you'll experience the freedom, creativity, and peace that come with a focused mind. If this message resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who feels overwhelmed by distraction, someone who needs to hear that focus is possible. Give this video a like. It helps spread the word and brings more people into this conversation. And most importantly, subscribe to Think Fresh Daily. Here, we're building a community committed to living with clarity, balance and intention in the digital age. Together, we can rewrite the story of our minds, one focused choice